refer to a female cookies. We call it the PS and start we call them cushy. We don't speak ill of the dead. We hope you won't be offended by the things that are said. Playing devil's advocate, and no one here to judge you. As such your true thoughts, you will learn how to love you. Everybody's listening, nobody's tripping. This life's too crazy, everybody's flipping. This life's so crazy, run and tell your friends. You're on the right side, there's no need to pretend. This an open forum, never done before. There's a future missing, this is a no cousins need to learn something, no bugging. No extra charge to switch for be buzzing. We don't really care if you're right or you're wrong. Just tune into Miss KiKi, whichever time it's on.
Hey, Miss KiKi, it's time to play. It's time to play. Devil's advocate. Hey, Miss KiKi, it's PDA. It's time to play. Devil's advocate.
And we go a little something like this. Hit it!
At some point, you will be offended by something said on this show. But playing devil's advocate is meant to be a forum for open, honest, and more importantly, judgment-free dialogue. The opinions expressed here may not necessarily be those of the host or of the show in general, but we're willing to have the uncomfortable conversations so that we can heal and find solutions for our listeners and quite possibly even ourselves. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Playing Devil's Advocate. I am your host, Miss KiKi, the consummate provocateur, and for the next 120 minutes, you are going to be edutained. That means for the next 2 hours, you are going to be educated and entertained. I think it's going to be equal balance of the two tonight, but before we can get into any of that, I need to take care of a little bit of the light housekeeping. And that's by letting you know that we are here each and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. to you guys on the East Coast. And if you happen to miss an episode, you can always come right back here and click it and watch it. Share it, Don't be stingy. Sharing is caring. Also, we would ask for you, because we are a hugely interactive show when we are live, is to follow us on Facebook and like our page. And then you can post comments there at facebook.com/playing devil's advocate. Any comments you post there, we'll make sure that we get on the air during the show. If you post them after the show, we still comment. We still keep the conversation going. Also, you can tweet us in real time here on the show, and we'll do the same thing. Follow us at PDA_Miss KiKi. That's PDA_MSKIKI, and we'll get your comments on air. We have an interactive chat room right here on YouTube. So if you have something you would like to share with us there, we'll comment interactively. If you happen to see me look over here to the side, I'm not ignoring you guys. I have another computer set up over here, and I'm talking to people over there, and I'm checking Twitter and all that good stuff. Also, I want to remind you guys, I'm an author, and I wrote a book, and it's available at online retailers everywhere, and you can go to the iTunes store. You can type in my name, KiKi Richardson, and download an electronic copy of my book, The Other Woman Code of Conduct, What Every Other Woman Should Know, and Men Too. It's not free, but it's well worth your money, and it is a relationship book, ladies and gentlemen, sorta. So don't judge the book by the cover. You can also go to KikiRichardson.com. And there you can find out about me, the other co-hosts on the show, our guests, our experts. You can purchase merchandise. You can purchase my book, everything right there, KikiRichardson.com. Go on over there, visit it, check it out. You can get information on a drink of the week. And I know y'all want to find out about that because everybody seems to love our producer, Cousin Chance, drink of the week. So there you have it. If you haven't noticed already, I am riding solo right now. This is not going to be 2 hours worth of me just yammering on and you having to hear the sound of my voice, but my crew will be joining us momentarily. We have some things. Look at there. I just said my crew will be joining me momentarily, and then pop goes the weasel, and the weasel goes pop. Let me go ahead and introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, you know her, you love her. She coined phrases like lube is temperatures, and either you rub it out or I'll suck it out. I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, please help me and welcome in my homegirl, Sporty, Spunky Angel. Hey, girl.
Hey, what's going on, Kiki?
Girl, ain't nothing going on but the rent.
Uh,
I'm
well,
over here.
here we go. Here we go.
Um, tonight's show. We always talk about relationships, and I'm just getting into it, but I just wanted to go over quickly before I get into everything about the show.
Right.
I wanted to tell you about you know that movie 13 Going on 30 when the
Yes.
daughter and the mother kind of switch roles or whatever.
Yeah.
It happened this weekend, except for it was me and Chan switched places. Yes, Chan of all people wanted to go out, and I was like, yeah,
What?
yes. How about I'm like, just let me know when you're ready. Until the point where I was like, look, I'm ready to go.
Ooh, quit playing.
No, she was out there getting her drink. It was like she was like, well, let me finish my drink. So I would turn my head. Next thing I know, she had a new drink. She
Okay,
had a
but
never.
it's tan, so.
No, I'm saying I was trying to figure out where the hell the drinks were coming from.
Oh
We
Lord.
we went to first of all, we started our day out. We had brunch. We had been out all day. We had brunch. We went to the vape bar. Got myself a new little starter kit for my vaping, y'all. Y'all don't know nothing about this. I got my little so I can smoke
Hey,
during the show.
it's
Huh?
like a socket wrench.
Yeah, it ain't no socket wrench.
Okay. Oh wow. That's
And that
interesting.
is called that's suicide soda. That's the flavor I have, suicide soda. Shan
Wow.
picked it out. Don't judge me. Shan picked it out.
Girl, I'm still looking at the apparatus. Now you're talking flavors.
Yes, suicide soda.
What does that do? Is that simulation of smoking?
Yeah, it's just vape. It's just basically juice and water and fume. I don't know. Shit. Don't make me tell no lies. Anyway, so we went to the vape bar. We got that. We were vaping. We had ourselves a good time. We go out to the club and you remember Eddie Drummond. He has this
Yeah.
thing on Friday night. So we go to his little spot after hanging out with Chantel, hookah and dinner and everything. We go over there. Because for some reason, Shan didn't want to end her night. She didn't want to end the night. We had just had dinner and hookah and everything and drinks with Chantel.
Still want to be outside?
That's what I'm saying. We go down the street to the other spot, and we're sitting in Eddie's little VIP area, and the drinks he wasn't even there yet. Drinks just coming out of nowhere. She kept saying, as soon as I finish my drink, as soon as I finish my drink. Every time I would turn around, she had a new drink. I'm like, okay,
Oh
really?
my
Who
God.
is the drink bandit that keeps sending drinks over? So yeah, it was weird. It was one of those turnabout things. So thank you, Chan, for the interesting weekend. This week's show,
Yes.
relationship building blocks. If you have ever wondered why some relationships work and others don't, or you want to know why staying happy in relationships are so difficult, we're going to
Mhm.
talk about some of those things tonight, some of those building blocks that some people don't actually incorporate when they're getting to know people. We're going to I'm going to talk about, as a professional, how I do on my post hashtag, trust me, I'm an expert.
Yes, honey. Let me tell you, that's been giving me life. I've been like, shut the front door.
What, my new posts?
Girl, all of them, they have been giving me life. I mean, like everything from the kissing to the curves to the. I mean, now I get up and look for them versus they just show up in my timeline. I actually go visit your page now because I'm like, oh well, let me go see what she did today. And girl, I'll be like, oh yes, I like that. Let me share that one. I like that.
Yeah. Yes. So, um, trust me, I'm an expert. We're going to be talking about, compatibility. That is something that is very important in terms of attaining relationships, maintaining and sustaining them, because that's, a lot of people will say, the basis of a true relationship is, like trust and honesty and all that stuff. You know how people say,
Right.
but the reality is compatibility, because none of that shit matter. If you're not compatible with the person, you can be honest with them, you can be all of those things, but if you're not compatible. So we're going to talk about what compatibility is, how to determine compatibility. I'm going to give you guys a bunch of questions to ask people to check your compatibility, because at this point, it's not like you're 20 years old anymore, right?
Right.
At this point, you're looking for people in your life that's going to complement your life, right? Not complicate your life.
Exactly.
So,
Word.
right, if they complement your life, write that down for me, please. You want them to complement your life, not complicate your life. Make sure, because I need to do something about that one a little bit later. So we're going to be talking about that in terms of compatibility, and then we're going to talk about those building blocks, right? So, a little bit later, I'm going to give you guys a little test. Well, not a test, but some things matter of fact, let's just do it now. Fuck it. Right?
Okay.
Since before we go into the building blocks where we're talking about trust and honesty and all that good stuff and breaking that stuff down, let's talk about compatibility, okay? When we're talking about compatibility, we're talking about those things that make up a functional relationship. So we're talking about functional compatibility, right?
Right.
And those are things that support your cognitive, emotional, and behavioral the behavioral things in a person, right? So if you don't find that the person is complementing those things, then typically you're not compatible with one another, right? So some of the things that you need to ask yourself in terms of determining compatibility, not the questions you need to ask them, but the questions that you need to ask yourself, right, is, do you and them share basic values? And when I talk about basic values, I'm talking about basic values. And I mean that in terms of, do you have the same belief system, right? Your core belief system, is it similar, the same, or is it very different? Because a lot of people say stuff about opposites attracts and all of that, but opposites attracting may not necessarily make for a good compatible relationship. It may make for a good dysfunctional one, because you might have somebody who believes very strongly in, like, their basic moral value system, right, be that stealing is wrong, it's bad to steal and blah blah blah, right? But if you have somebody who's a thief, y'all might not gel together, right? Y'all might not be functionally compatible if one person holds strongly to that core value, right? And another part of that is that religious beliefs, right? Your religious values can be, sometimes, because that's what the basis of who we are, what we believe, right? So if
Can I
those
ask you a
things,
question about what you're saying right in this minute right here? So
yeah,
you made two key points that I personally want to go over.
okay,
You know how, normally, like when we have our little one-on-one conversations and it's just us, and you'll ask me a specific question and I'll give you an answer, and then you'll give me this, you'll give me the KiKi look, and you'll go, okay, so you'll tell me either I'm beating around the bush, you call bullshit, or you just told me about somebody else's viewpoint, what's yours? So when you just said, how does the system work for you, and what's your compatibility with this person, I think it's really key that people begin to understand that they look at themselves before
right,
they look at someone else. And
absolutely.
I think that is so valid, because if you don't look at you, how can you know what's going to make you happy while you're continuously focusing outside of yourself? So I think that's
Absolutely.
a great lesson that you should share with the world.
Well, she already told you guys. Whenever I'm coaching and I ask her a question and she goes on to tell me, well, he or they, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not asking you about them. I'm asking you about you.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, if you take that moment to remove the other person from the equation and evaluate self first, you find out typically it's not even an issue anymore. Or you have to now reassess what it is that you're feeling about the situation. But I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole because that could take us so many different places.
Right, but I just thought it was a touch.
Yeah, it is very important that you ask yourself these questions. Do we share the same basic values, right?
So now,
If somebody is,
I'm sorry, before you go further, your other point that you made, and because I don't want to lose my thought on it, you said when you were talking about opposites attracting and how it can be a distraction versus something that's compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there a fine line between having things that are different between you and your mate? Like say for instance, believe in integrity, as a solid part of our moral foundation. But there are things, that he feels more strongly about than I do. And I don't like in a bad way. I mean, like, say for instance, I might tell him, go get my keys out of my purse. And he might say, well, I don't go in a woman's purse. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to, you do it yourself. Just different things like that.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because that's not about your basic core system. When I'm talking about your basic core values, those are the things that make you you. Why do you believe what you believe? Some people, those things are rooted in religion. Some people, those things are rooted in past experiences or whatever the case. It's not one of those situations where, it's the essence of the blueprint of who you are. So those things have to line up, right? The next thing that you need to ask yourself in determining if this person is compatible with you is that, in terms of how we refer to it as other regarding, are you and your significant other. And when I talk about other regarding, and I know it sounds a little odd, but what that basically means is that when we were talking about the opposites attract thing, two ego-centered people are not likely to get along, right? Right. So,
true.
An ego-centered person is the person who believes that what he or she wants it is good, right, and true, right? And so others should share the same. You know how you have some people who have that thought, well, if you with me, then you need to have my back. Even if you wrong as two left shoes, that kind of thing, right? Now, if you have one person that's ego-centered while the other person is not, there's a greater chance that the relationship may work, but it's not likely to be functional. And that's because the person who's not ego-centered can always find themselves adopting the values and preferences and beliefs of the other person as opposed to staying
what made them
who they are. Correct.
I got you.
Right. Okay. And then the next thing is that you need to ask yourself is, do you and your significant other complement each other intellectually? A lot of people don't think about this, right? It is important that you guys are able to comprehend ideas and issues and concepts that arise, that come up in life, right? And be able to have a conversation about it in a reasonable and thoughtful manner. Now, I'm not saying that you guys have to have the same IQ or, whatever. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that you have to have the potential to be able to have the insight and perspective to mutually enlighten one another in a way that there's a flow in terms of the information, that it's a flow and it's not just in one direction, that both parties benefit from that, right? You might have some situations where that person may be an artistic thinker and the other person is a analytical thinker. It helps because that's a compliment. You understand that? That compliments, because where I may not be as that person can help me in that area and vice versa. And one thing that happens when beauty and sex or dysfunction or other kind of things, I can't hear nothing you saying, Sporty. When any of those other things arise in your life or whatever, You have to be able to have a conversation. And if you guys are not intellectually stimulating one another, what do I always say? That the sex and all that other stuff starts with mental course. It's this.
Up here.
Yeah,
Now,
it's
that I
mental.
agree with 100%. You have to be able to have something, it's funny. My daddy used to teach this sermon, after the nut, then what? You got to be able to have something to communicate about other than what's going on below your belt.
All right, Pastor.
Yeah.
I ain't mad up for that. But it's true, right? And so the next thing is, do you share interests? When Rob was with us a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about how, when Chan and when they were together, they like to play video games and things like that. You have to share common interests. Do you always have to like the same things? No, but it's nice if you guys like the same kind of music. It's nice if, you enjoy going out to listen to live music. It's nice if you like to dance. It's like, those kind of things. Because if you want to go out to dance because you enjoy dancing and he doesn't, you guys are going to have a problem. Because either he's going to come there, sit there like a bump on a log, and, you're going to be like wanting him to get up and do it, and he's not going to want to get up and do it. It's going to cause problems. If you're an outdoor person and he's an indoor person, you're going to have problems, right?
It's like
so you
a consistent flow of a conflict of interest because you don't have the same interest somewhere.
Right. You have to be able to have some of the same interests. And even if you don't share everything the same, the beautiful thing about it, again, it's a complementary thing. What you're not into, they may be able to open your eyes up to that you may not have considered before.
Agreed.
So again, this is compatibility, complementary, right? You want to think about that. Here's something that's very important that I don't think people pay a lot of attention to. Are your temperaments in alignment with one another?
Ooh,
right?
Girl.
Right now, I'm not hyper emotional, but I do speak my mind and I say what I have to say. Am I gonna argue with you? Absolutely not. But if I have somebody that's argumentative and wants to be right here, and I'm just like, shut down city, right? We gonna have a problem, right? If there's somebody that's always on 10 and the other person's on 2, not cool. They need to bring it down to about a 6, and you need to bring it up to about a 6. You know what I'm saying? So you guys are gonna have to find a way to meet in the middle, because your temperaments, if they are vastly different, it's gonna cause a serious strain on your relationship that can lead to more dysfunction and trauma and drama in your relationship, right?
Well, speaking of temperament,
Yes.
got a question.
Yes.
I have been in both sides of the relationship where both of our temperament matched, which means can't shit get done because both of us are on 10. Nobody ever gets a chance to come down. Or I was on 10 and he was on 2, which drove me to 20 because he wasn't at 10 with me.
Right. So that's a lack of compatibility there, right? In terms of, you have to be able to meet. There has to be a balance. The object of the exercise is to find that balance. So if you're on 10 and they're on 10, there's no balance there. It's a stalemate, right? If you put it on a scale, it's staying just like this. There's going to be no movement, right? If you're on a 10 and he's on a 2 and he's not, you're up here, he's down here, there's still nothing getting done, right? You guys, he needs to add a little bit more to the 2. You need to bring a little off the 10 so y'all can meet and have that balance.
So with that balance,
the balance is if you know that person is at a 2, coming at 10, it's coming to them in 10, coming in hot, is not going to work, right? You have to, you have to meet them at that particular, not all the way at 2, but can you meet them at about 6 and be like, you know what?
See,
it doesn't mean.
It's funny that you even said that because, of course, life always brings to the show. I noticed, I had a disagreement with, someone, and I know already that if I'm in my, what does Chan call me? What's that name she give me? I forgot what she called me.
You got the name I gave you? Emotional?
Whatever the name y'all call me. When I'm there and I'm like really, y'all know how I am when I'm like upset. So I know when I go to him, I can't be there Because if I'm like really there, he completely is just like, I'm not going to talk to you. So, but I need to say what I need to say. So I have learned to, you know,
Bring it
just
down.
I actually go down to where he is, and then he looks at me like, okay, well, when is this other shoe gonna fall? Because I'm expecting, your
Right.
explosion. Because I know you're pissed. I know I upset you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not insinuating on any way because I hear what you're saying and somebody's going to say this in their head. Well, KiKi, why do I always have to meet them? Right?
Well, it's like he now catches himself though.
Right. But there are some people who may not get it. And so what I
Okay.
wanted to be clear about is that it's not that you're always meeting them where they are. You guys have to meet somewhere in the middle. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about understanding people's communication styles, right? We're going to talk about that. So, and that's how you learn how to meet that person there when it comes to that. Because if you starting at 10 and they're starting at 2 and you guys are speaking two totally different languages, and he's like Chan said, he's staying at 2 and she getting madder and madder till she end up at 10. Now they're at 0 because they're like, disconnect, right? And that's only going to piss her off even more. You guys are speaking different languages, okay? But if you are at a 10 all the time and you don't know how to come back from 10, being with somebody that's a 2 is not, and that can't get out of that 2 is not going to be somebody that's compatible for you.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It does. It makes sense. I
don't
get
care
it now.
how much of I don't care how nice he is. I don't care how all the other things line up. The reality is, if those things are not going to work out for you, then it's also going to cause problems. And then the other thing that, and I'm going to hurry up because we need to get into some things in terms of how do you guys relate to each other, right? And I don't mean in terms of idealistically. I mean in terms of realistically, right? Beneath all of what, it's too good to be true and all of that other stuff, in terms of authentically who that person is, right? Because there's an extreme in relationships where people talk about communication is so important. You can over communicate.
Mm-hmm.
You can over communicate. You can talk your relationship to death, literally, right?
Then you have, I said you can, absolutely.
Right. And then you have the silence that's deafening that can do it. But how do you relate to each other authentically, understanding exactly who they are and relating to them? Not expecting them, because a lot of times in relationships, people will say, well, if it were me, I would do blah, blah, blah. They're not you. And by expecting them to behave in the way that you would behave, you set them up to fail.
Yep. And that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, but then that goes into a whole other thing about communicating your business outside of your relationship. But
right.
But if I were you, if you start off saying if I were you to me and we're talking or venting or whatever the case may be, I'm really not interested in that, because you're not, like you just said, you're not me.
Yeah, and it's not so much as, if I were you, it's just that people tend to, whether they're friends, whether they're in intimate relationships, whatever it is, even whenever there's disagreement, whenever there's some friction, the person who feels like they're being done the injustice always says, well, I would never do that to somebody. If it, you know what I mean? I don't do blah, 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 blah. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're holding them to your invisible standard of who you are, you set them up to fail. So allow them to authentically be who they are. If it doesn't line up with who you are and what you want in your life, let it go. It's okay. Doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make them a bad person. It's just not good for you in that way. And then the other thing that I want you guys to remember in terms of compatibility is, are you guys attracted to each other? Like, I mean, for real. I mean, physically attracted to each other and also sexually attracted to each other. Because when I talk about physically being attractive, it's kind of one of those things, the offshoot of what I was talking about seduction, is that it's not always physical in terms of sexual, right? You can find somebody's eyes attractive, their smile, the way they hold their head, those little things. You find those little quirks, those little things attractive about that person,
Right.
right? And then, of course, sexual chemistry, sexual attraction too, because that plays a big part in relationships. You know, lack of it can cause a problem, and too much of it can cause a problem.
Is there such a thing? Oh, dear God.
Yeah, it is, especially when you're not sexually compatible. To a person who doesn't want to have sex 4 times a damn week, right? And a person who does, the person who's having it 4 times a week, it's a problem for them.
Yeah.
Again, so are you guys attracted to each other? Are you finding those things about it? If you don't have those things, then yeah, let it go. It's okay. And I'm gonna give you guys a rule a little bit later on in the show about how to monitor, you know, and how to score those things that I just gave you guys, you know, and how you can raise that compatibility ratio. There's a way to do it. And we'll go over that just a little bit more. I just wanted to know if there was any questions about any of the stuff that I just talked about before we start going into some of the other things.
No, I don't have any right now. I'm just really excited about, you know, all of these great things. And what I'm excited about is that there are so many ways, like as you call, I like how we call the show building blocks, because there's so many ways to build on things and so much to learn. Even if you're already in a compatible situation, you can still build and grow.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm excited about.
Yes, yes, yes. I put out a picture a little while ago, and it had, you know, the lady and the man on the top, little stick figures, and it had all these boxes. It was like 10 boxes, right? And each box had, which was like a block, had something that was like a building block, right? And they were in no particular order, right? But I think it's important that we talk about those things, you know, and the 10 things that were on there. And like I said, in no particular order, since we already talked about compatibility. Compatibility would be B1. Trust, communication, respect, the truth, accountability, forgiveness, acceptance, patience, and integrity. Those are things that those are the main blocks that I would like for us to just kind of work on, because those are things that you would need to focus on in the beginning of a relationship when picking out a potential mate. And once you're in those relationships, those are things that you're going to have to continuously work on, right? You have to continually work on communicating and being respectful of people's feelings, thoughts, you know, hopes, dreams, desires. You have to trust them. You have to trust that they're going to be who they say they are, you know, all the time. You have to trust that they're not going to hurt you in any way. You know, there are all these things that we need to talk about, you know, in terms of acceptance and forgiveness. You accept that person, like we were talking about, authentically for who they are. Forgiveness. There'll be many times where you need to be in a position to forgive, you know, and the forgiveness doesn't necessarily have to be of that partner. It could be of you. You can forgive yourself for doing blah, 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 maybe alienating your partner, whatever it is, right?
Makes sense.
If there are a lot of things. Patience. A lot of people don't think about that because we all come into relationships from different places, right? And then, you know, it's kind of like you go to the airport. Everybody's coming to the airport from different places, right?
Right.
And then you get on this plane and you go on this journey, this trip, same thing, right? And then you get to this destination and you like, okay, now what? Same thing, right? So you have to think about being patient and dealing with those things in times and learning about where that person comes from, how they got to this thought process, all of those things that we need to be cognizant of. And for those of you guys who just may be joining us, this is Playing Devil's Advocate. I am your host, Miss KiKi, the consummate provocateur. And tonight we're talking about relationship building blocks. And we've talked about how to ask yourself, how to determine if you're compatible with a potential mate before we even get into the whole part we in the relationship, right? Am I compatible with this person? Should I even be with this mofo to begin with, right? And if you want to be a part of the conversation, the chat room is open. They just sitting in there awfully quiet. Also, you can send us tweets at PDA_Miss Kiki, or you can post to our Facebook wall at facebook.com/playing devil's advocate. Sporty, I know there was something, a building block that you wanted to talk about.
One of the big ones I want to talk about is integrity. One of the things that you always say, you know, and I just love this because we get to talk about some of the stuff you coach about a lot. But one of the things you always say is that truth and honesty are two different things. So if you will expound.
So wait. So are we talking about integrity or are we talking about truth? Because that's one of the building blocks. Truth is one of the building blocks.
Let's go with the integrity first. I really would like to tackle that one first. So if you have,
I'm like, for me, integrity is with the things that you do when you don't think anybody else is looking or anybody else can see it. That's the integrity stuff.
Okay, so if you have that stuff, the things that they do that nobody else can see, you know, there's a certain part of relationships that I notice that like nobody else knows but me and my partner. You know, that's something that's us. And I know the outside world looks in or looks at us or looks at whatever, but there's a certain thing, like you can't come to me and talk to me about him because there are just certain things that we know that if you even say that to me, I'm just like, yeah, you're not even talking about him. He didn't do it. He didn't say it or breathe it because that's just not how we operate.
Well, not necessarily not how you operate, but he has behaved in a way that his integrity has been proven to you, that he's been able to say, you know, his words and his actions have been in alignment with one another.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where the integrity, you know, when I say all the time about people, if, you know, because people lie, they say that bullshit, actions speak louder than words. No, they do not. When your actions and your words are not consistent, there is a level of deception. But when your actions and your words are consistent, that is where the integrity pops in. Because that's what I say. If I say I'm not going to fuck around on you, right? Even if I knew I could get away with it, and I prove that to be true, that's the integrity shining through. Because again, it's the things that if I don't know, if I know ain't anybody gonna see me, am I still gonna do it anyway? No, I'm not. Right? And that's the thing that a lot of people don't focus on. Has that person proven to you that their words and their actions are consistent, that there's no level of deception in there? And that deception may not be to somehow defraud you or make you feel badly, right? It may be out of their own confusion. It may be out of their own messed up BS that they haven't resolved yet, that is now being, you know, put onto you because you've hitched your wagon to them.
So let me ask you a question. So let's say, for instance, I'd like to give you a scenario and you can help me work through this part. So let's say, for instance, I say to you, KiKi, I've been waiting for such and such from you and I haven't gotten it yet. You know, KiKi, be honest with me. Are you sending it or not? You know, and given the history of KiKi, you're always true to your word. You follow through on what you say you're going to do. And there's no reason that I would ever have to say something to you like, you know, be honest with me in a statement or something like that. Do you take offense to that in a relationship with your partner?
Do I personally, or that
would
should
you?
Anybody?
Right. Would you take offense to that? It's something that
I'll
is that
put it like this. I'm not gonna take offense, and I'll tell you why. I think that it would be not a good thing for anybody to take offense to it, and I'll tell you why. If you know that you have proven yourself to be in it, you know, to have integrity, and what you say and what you do line up with one another. Somebody saying to me, "Well, be honest with me," has nothing to do with me. You understand what I'm saying? Because I know that I've done that. So them saying to me, be honest with me, is a reflection of their own insecurity that they're now projecting onto me. So I'm not going to be like, well, why would you think I'm lying? I ain't never lied to you. I'm not going to jump there with them. Why? That's not the issue. The issue at hand, I'm focused, folks, stay focused on the right thing, right? I'm making it about me if I go off the handle, when in actuality, it's not about me at all. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you alluded to my whole commentary about truth and honesty. And one of the building blocks about truth and honest is truth. And I chose specifically not to say honesty because people always talk about honesty, right? And truth and honesty are not the same, right? One is subjective because I can be as honest with you as I can, right? That means that that's something that's to me. But truth, it doesn't matter who says it, when it happens, whatever, it can stand the test of time. It
because it is what it is.
Because it is a continuum. It is what it is. It does not change. That's why, and I specifically said that a long time ago in terms of a lot of these coaches, life coaches, saying to their clients, well, that's your truth. No, it's not my truth. Truth doesn't belong to me or belong to you. Truth is. It belongs to everyone. I can't take it and make it mine, right? So when you do that, you're giving somebody an excuse to behave or act or say something that otherwise they shouldn't, right? So if you say this is my reality, now that can be yours. That can be subjective. In terms of honesty, honesty is what you are able to provide them based on what you have available to you.
Okay.
Now, do I have the necessary skill set to be completely transparent? Because I know that in the past, if I have told the truth, bad things happened as a result, then I'm going to be as honest with you as I can up to the point of me getting in trouble. You understand what I'm saying?
Deal. Right.
It's a difference between truth and honesty.
Honesty. Gotcha.
Because if I tell a story, you tell a story, Chad tell a story, you know, everybody to go around and tell a story, and we're all being honest about what we experienced.
It's not going to be the same truth.
Right, because the nuances are different. Mm-hmm. But the situation itself, what it was.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yay, team.
So, another one of those things is what we're doing right now is communicating. People think because you talk, you communicate.
No.
Right? I mentioned it earlier about communication being, you could do too much of it. You could talk. You could communicate yourself into a whole. And a lot of that is because we have not necessarily learned how to use our powers for good when it comes to communication, right? The same mouth that you use to utter loving things is the same mouth that you would use to utter negative, vile things to someone else, right?
Yes, it is.
So, it's just that quick. You see what I'm saying? It's just that quick. So what we have to learn to do in communicating is we have to understand who we're communicating with, the message that we want them to receive, right? And how can we get them to receive it in the best way possible, right?
Okay, KiKi. Pause. So, once again, life has served up a situation due to our show. So, okay. And I'm just gonna lay it on out there, and I'm gonna put Sporty on your couch.
Okay, come on with it.
So check this out. I have a choir member that I have a problem with. Okay, and this guy is, the epitome of, you got two really strong, aggressive people, and the way he communicates with me, you know how I am about how someone talks to me. Right. But if you say to me, I'll deal with you when I get home, my immediate reaction is, who the fuck are you talking to? I'm not your child. That's the first thing, and you're not, we're on equal playing field. So it's not like I'm your subordinate and you're my boss or you're getting on me or reprimanding me. But the way you communicate your information to me is horrible. And so over and over again, I take the high road to either ignore this person as if they don't completely exist at all, or you know, I say to them, I'm really not receptive to what you're saying right now because the way you're talking to me doesn't work for me, or I go off on him. This particular time, I went off on him because I've had my limit. He just kind of dropped it, and I snapped on him.
Okay. I see what you're saying, and this happens a lot, in not just in, you know, that particular instance, but in relationships as well. Oftentimes we use this other cliche. We teach people how to treat us, right? So the very first time that person spoke to you in that manner, and you didn't respond in a way to let them know, hey, this is not okay. And that doesn't mean that you had to go off on them in that minute, right? It's in a way that you can communicate to them, say, hey, hold on. You know what I mean? I hear what you're saying, but we're not going to do this. You know, or however it is that you at least get their attention. If you're in a relationship with somebody, and I'm just going to kind of, so that everybody can see different ways to do it. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you don't communicate with that person very well, one, you didn't do your due diligence on compatibility, right? But in your instance, if you can't communicate with this person because they just don't get it, then you need to find another way to get someone else to communicate with them. And that's not being passive aggressive. It's kind of one of those situations where either you're going to keep having to take the high road and be pissed off all the time, which is dysfunctional, right? Or you going to flip out, which is then you now lowering and is dysfunctioning. Or you find another way to communicate with them. Even if it's creative, you have to find another way that they respond. Even if that meant you had to enlist someone else. Say, hey, you know what? Y'all already know how, you know how I rock out with such and such. I can't talk to her right now. Can you handle this for me?
And that's what I did. I enlisted a mediator. I enlisted another person to talk to them, so I don't have to.
But in your romantic relationships, oftentimes you don't have the luxury of passing the buck on to someone else. So you have to pay attention to how that person communicates. If that, like I said, again, if that person is on 10, do I suggest you go on 10 with them? No. Right? But I'm more of the person who, if I'm upset about something, I shut down. I'm like, because I need to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I need to figure out, one, why I'm bothered by it, two, how I want to say what I want to say to you so that you hear me and you're not defensive. Because what happens is, in your situation as well as a lot of other situations, is that when a person comes to you in a way that you don't communicate, you get on the defense. You have now completely tuned out and don't hear anything they're saying.
Right.
You're focused on defending yourself as opposed to receiving the information in which they wish to imparting you.
Agreed.
So the best way to do when you're in a relationship is to understand and learn how that person communicates. You do that throughout the dating process. You do that when conflict does arise. You will understand, but you have to pay attention. You cannot go in with a me-thinking mentality. Or I thinking mentality. I wouldn't do that. I'm just going to do blah, blah, blah. No, it's a we. So now we have to think about how someone else will receive this information. That's if you give a shit about them hearing or changing, right?
And you know what else I noticed, Kiki, is besides verbal clues and verbal communication, is that they tend to, they'll give, like he'll do, I don't know if he's mad about something I'm saying, because he'll do this and go, you know, that's he's listening, you know, but he's like, okay, well, what's this shit about to be? You know, he has that look on his face. And so at that point, I know, you know, he's paying attention, you know, he wants to hear what it is, and then he's going to go into his points. He has like this point system. Well, it's this, and this. So I know he's going to list what works with what I said, what doesn't work with what I said, and now he's tossing the ball back to me to see what I'm going to do about it.
But I'm gonna tell you where the dysfunction lies in that.
Please.
He didn't hear you. He was defending his position. If I'm talking to you and you're sitting here, first of all, this body language is closed.
It's closed. Right, it's closed.
Okay, let's be clear about that. Secondly, if everything that you said to me, I can point back to you point for point why what I'm saying is important, I've totally discounted and discredited what you just said.
No, he just back what I've said.
Okay.
And he's answering my request. He's
okay.
You know, he's heard what I said and he's responded. So that's his, you know, and yes, this is a closed position and I've said that, but you know, I also noticed that's when he's really paying attention to something. You know, but I get it that he's being defensive. Like if you attack me, I'm gonna get go ahead.
But that's two things. One, typically in body language, this is a closed position. But again, it makes a very good point. I'm glad we touched on this, is that you have to take the time to get to know your partner. If you understand this is just a mannerism of his, and he hasn't shut you out, right? Then so on and so forth, right? But most people don't take the time to get to understand those little things. Because I'll do things like this when people are talking to me.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'll say, right? And they're like, what? I'm processing. Keep going. You know what I mean? But they think that I'm ready to respond or I'm somehow critiquing what they're saying. No, I'm processing what you just said in my head, right? There are times when I'll do like this, or I'll give you an absolute blank stare. This one right here.
Oh, yes. I know that one.
Doesn't mean most people will think that I'm completely tuned out, but that's not what's happening. Again, if you get to know me and you watched me interact and then you know. And that's what I'm saying about those building blocks. Get to know that person, especially in moments of conflict. Even if it's not the conflict moment with you. If you see them in moments of conflict with other people, you can learn a lot about that person. Right?
Well,
and
can I tell you, I need you to learn something like right now about me. If you pay attention to this look, the one I have on my face right now, it means I'm thirsty.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm really
this
thirsty.
is getting so good to me.
It is good, girl. This is good stuff. I feel like we just on the phone talking, girl. We're playing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our producer's drink of the week. It's a little late. I'm sorry. But this week's drink, Cousin Chan did it again. I don't know where she found these ingredients.
Uh-oh.
But
She in her chemical lab again.
Huh?
Y'all got that pinky and the brain thing going on over there. Who knows what she came up with?
You ain't finna put this on me, but I'm gonna let her tell y'all about it because I'm gonna fuck it up because can't nobody talk about the drink better than the person who created it. Ladies and gentlemen, Cousin Chan, take it away.
Hey everybody, tonight's drink of the week is a smoky apple. Tonight's drink of the week, we're going to use an ounce of smoked moonshine, an ounce of apple moonshine, and a half an ounce of ginger ale. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to mix all the ingredients into a glass over ice and then stir. And there you have it, smoky apple. All right, guys, be safe, enjoy, drink responsibly. I'll see you next week.
And you don't do it, gonna know you're through. What's that? What's that?
All right.
Did she say moonshine twice?
Yeah. She said smoked moonshine and apple moonshine.
How the hell you smoke alcohol?
Man, listen, let me tell you something here. I told you I ain't fucking with her. I ain't fucking with you. She said ain't nobody hear it. I don't know what she's talking about. You heard it, didn't you?
I did. I heard moonshine twice.
That's what I thought. I don't know what she talking about. Ain't nobody hear it. I'm about to show y'all this. Huh?
We're gonna do it
This
again?
is great. This is what it looked like. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da.
Girl, is it in the damn jelly jar?
It's in the mason jar, girl.
Oh, that's the jelly jar.
Yes, it's in the mason jar. I don't know what she talking about. Did nobody hear it? I heard it. I mean, you heard it. I'm gonna ask the people in the chat room if they heard it. Did y'all hear it in the chat room? Cause I don't know what she talking about. I think she making stuff up, y'all.
She made the drink.
She probably drank it too.
Maybe she drinking some moonshine.
She's smoking the moonshine.
Oh Lord. That should be a vape flavor then, huh?
Speaking of vape.
Girl, I'm gonna hit my 40 ounce.
All right, that girl. As I sip my suicide soda, as I vape my suicide soda. All right,
Did you just blow that through your nose? That's talent. Yeah, skill.
yes, baby. That's you don't know how I can swallow and breathe at the same time. You don't know nothing about my skill.
I'm going. Okay.
Let it go. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Can't take it back anymore. Take it back. All right. So we talked about truth. We talked about communication. Trust. That's something that's very important. And that comes on the heels of integrity. If you've proven yourself to be a person of your word and you have integrity, then it makes it very easy for me to trust you. Makes it very easy, right? We talk about respect. Understanding my space, my time. Listen, here's something I am very much I have as a pet peeve of mine. And we're going to talk, I'm going to go, after we go over this right quick, I'm going to go over the questions that you should ask people. A pet peeve of mine is timeliness. I am a stickler about timeliness.
Come on, girl, talk to me.
And it drives me up a wall. So for someone that I would be in a relationship with, a friendship with, anything with, that doesn't respect my time, I may say something several times or maybe even once or twice. After that, I'm going to get quiet. When I get quiet, there's a problem.
Oh, my.
I'm just saying. So in terms of respect, you need to understand those boundaries of what a person would find disrespectful. You see me over here? Sporty. I don't know you. I don't know what you. But yes, understand and respect the person that you're with. Understand and respect the relationship. I don't know how many people use that phrase, well, I think it's disrespectful. Well, shit, that's not disrespectful. Yeah, have you seen that?
Yeah.
Haven't you seen that? I mean, or heard it all the time. Well, you ain't gonna be disrespecting me. That's not a disrespectful violation.
No.
Did I smack your mama? Did I call you a bitch? You know what I mean? Did I tell your friends that you're a 2-minute man? Those are disrespectful offenses.
No, that would be honesty.
No, that would be disrespectful to disclose that information, because the only reason you would disclose that information would be out of malice.
But it'd be the truth.
It's disrespectful.
I know. I totally understand. I'm just, I'm just being sporty right now.
You don't want to take accountability for the fact that you were not respecting the relationship.
I don't respect that they're a 2-minute man. I get it.
No, you don't respect how going public with that can be hurtful. Because once you do something to disrespect somebody, that's right. It's hurtful.
It is, and I see that, it is. And it's not right, it's inappropriate, and
But that's how you roll, though, Sporty.
Ooh.
When you get mad, you try to do shit. You call yourself going for the jugular. And one of the things I would tell in terms of talking about that, and not just talking about you, is that, you know, in relationships, and this is kind of an offshoot from that, but since it just came up, is that you always be mindful of the fact, do unto others. You know one of the golden rules, do unto others that you will have them do unto you.
Absolutely.
There are some people who will do the meanest shit to other people, but if it were done to them, oh my God, the world needs to come to an end.
Yeah,
And my mom
absolutely.
used to say this phrase a long time ago. If you dish it, you should take it. You should take it. And the people who dish the most shit and do the most hurtful things are the most sensitive, can't take shit ever.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm having
get your life. Wait a minute. Let me read what the producer Chan just put in the chat room. So I'm last minute Lucy all the time. All the time. And sometimes I think she do the shit on purpose just to piss me off, to be quite honest. And she said, now that I'm old, I forget half the things and I'm last minute on. That's because she don't listen. You could tell her some shit. I'm going to tell you, a couple weeks ago, I told her something every day, twice a day.
You being disrespectful.
And I don't give a shit right now. Look. And every time she asked me like it was the first fucking time that we had this. And I just finally was like, I'm not doing this shit with you no more. No more. Don't ask me again. You're not fucking listening. I don't like repeating myself as it is. Now, knock it off.
Ooh.
So how can I be blamed for something that I don't remember that I had done?
It's not that you had done it. You didn't do it. You kept doing the same shit over and over.
But if I forget it, how can I be blamed for if I forget? And I know this is now coming from the person who forgets everything.
Okay, listen. There is a difference from actually having a moment, it passes, and you forget about it. Then somebody tell you something, you half listening or not listen, and then say you forgot it. You didn't forget it. You weren't listening.
First of all, let me ask you a question. How you gonna tell me what I was doing? That's what I want to know. How you gonna tell me where my brain was when I first received the information?
Because I know you, mofo.
Oh, nigga, no. I'm going back on you.
I know you. Anyway, she knows she don't be listening.
I do listen.
Oh.
She hears, but she don't listen. But that's a whole other story altogether. Anywho, so let's move on. We talked about Sporty, did you have a question or something you wanted to bring up? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, you answered it for the most part about, it was about the communication and getting to know your partner's way of communicating more than just verbal, clues, physical clues and, different styles of communicating about things that you pick up on. And you answered my question when you spoke about paying attention to how a person is during a conflict with someone that's not you and them, how they handle that conflict. You see them when they're angry or not, or how they vent or not about certain things. So you're still learning about those types of problems and how to resolve them by watching them with other people. So that was part of the question process for you too.
Some of the other building blocks that I want people to be mindful of are accountability. Own your shit. The good and the bad. You cannot just take credit for the good shit. You have to be responsible and willing to accept your part for the bad shit as well. It's like with a kid, right? Parents joke about it all the time. When it's the good shit, they're like, oh, that's my baby. But as soon as the bad shit go down with the kid, they won't say to the other person, that's your kid, that's your son, that's your daughter, right? You can't just own the good shit. You have to be willing and accountable for the bad stuff as well. Yeah. So if your relationship doesn't work out, then you have to know it wasn't all that person.
Now, and I truly believe this, and this is my opinion and my thought. I really believe that accountability sometimes goes hand in hand with your forgiveness block.
It
Because
does.
you can't be accountable for your part in the situation. How can you begin to forgive yourself, let alone the other person involved? And
Right.
if you're both not able to be accountable about whatever that situation is, whether you're going to remain together or whether you're going to part ways, there can be no forgiveness if no one owns up to their responsibility in whatever that situation is that you
I
have.
think you've been paying attention.
Huh?
I think you've been paying attention.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've learned some shit over the years. I may not always, talk about it, but when I need to get it together, if I have not learned anything, I will say honestly, over the past 10 years, if I haven't learned anything, I've learned that accountability plays a big part in my life.
Yes.
And not just in relationships with, significant others, but in every type of relationship. If I don't take responsibility and
Right.
own me, then
Yep.
nothing's going to be right. And there's
And
a
that's
lot
what
of
a lot
shit
of
that I'm
people.
not right about,
But there's a lot of things that's one of the hardest things to do, to be accountable and to forgive, right? That's one of the hardest things to do.
It
And
is.
that's because that makes you have to be vulnerable, right? And vulnerable to your flaws, vulnerable to your weaknesses, and understanding you're not the best thing that you thought you were, that you are a flawed creature. So it's very difficult for people to be accountable and then to forgive themselves and forgive others. And forgiveness is difficult because oftentimes, whether it's forgiving ourselves, but often when it's forgiving others, it's difficult because we get on our high and mighty horse where
Right.
and it's like, fuck you, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that, and then of course, like we talked about, accepting that person for who they are, and accepting that, okay, may not be the person for me. Accepting that maybe you're not in a position to give this person what it is that they want, whatever it is. But all of that stuff is all interwoven. Some things that we can do, and if we just break it down a little further, those are the big blocks. But the little blocks that build up those little boxes, we talked about paying attention to the little things. And that's just not just the little things in terms of the little things, because we pay attention to the little shit that piss us off. We don't ever pay attention to the little stuff that really, really matters, right? We can pick apart every fucking negative little thing about that person. But if I were to ask someone, well, what is it that you really like about them? It's always very typical. They always seem to give me broad strokes. They paint that picture with broad strokes.
Mm-hmm.
They can never say, you know what? I like the way he looks at me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, he makes me feel like I'm the only person in a room full of people. I like the fact that we can look at each other, not say a word, and completely get it. I like the way that he, I don't know, is always thinking about me, or whatever the case. They can't tell you the little stuff. They're like, because he's fun and he play well with my kids. You know what I mean?
Girl, did you go get all fabulous on it,
Yeah,
though?
I did. He bought me the new Jordans. Now, I'm just saying, but a lot of times it's
What?
I was gonna say all that is code word for he fucks me right. That's what all that's code word for.
They can tell you that too, but
they don't say that. They say everything else around it.
Right, but what I'm saying is, even if you were to say, he got some good dick, right? And then if I said to you, well, what about it is so good?
When he just grabs me from behind and whispers in my ear or sings a song in my ear, and still, it's just the blank.
I don't need to know.
Blank.
I don't need to know. I'm
and
just
the blank.
My sporty.
It's
TMI.
the details. We, pay attention to the details.
Absolutely.
Pay attention to the details of, like, even like we pay more attention to the details with our friends and our than we in our than we do our family and our intimate relationships, right? Like
Mhm.
I bet you I could tell you, you know, I could order Chan's drink or she could order mine and know, you know, order my food and be like, yeah, she don't want this, don't do that, put this on the side, separate plates, right? She could tell me point blank. But it was
Don't
somebody,
let Kiki's food touch, please.
right? But it was somebody she was seeing or whatever. He walk away from the table. I just wait for you to come back to order what you want. I'm not saying that's true, you know, in terms of how she would treat a guy, but I'm saying that's just an example of how what we pay attention to with
Mhm.
stuff that doesn't, you know what I mean, as opposed to people that we say that we want to be in a relationship or we care about it, blah 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 blah, and we're not even paying attention to those little details, you know. Um, the other things that we have to be mindful of, and in a few minutes I'm about to go down the list of questions that you need to ask. So get your pen and paper out, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to hear no excuses. Uh, the most important thing that I can say in terms of these relationship building blocks before I start going to the questions and giving the fun stuff is I cannot impress upon you the importance of having uncomfortable conversations. If it is uncomfortable, you need to talk about it. That's exactly why you should, because it's uncomfortable. Because it's better for it to be uncomfortable for you now. Talk about it so it doesn't happen, and then you're uncomfortable with that, and then having to deal with fixing it afterwards. Does that make sense?
It does, and you know what's so funny that you even said that. I notice when there's an uncomfortable conversation that we need to have, 95% of the time, he already knows that I need to have this uncomfortable conversation, and he's just waiting for me to present it to him because it's my issue to present. And usually when I present it, you know, I may have a tone where I say, well, you know, I think this, and this, and you're not paying attention to, you know, or I get the impression that you're not paying attention to such and such and such. And he'll say, well, here's what you're upset about. This is what I've noticed. This is what you said about it on such and such a date at this time. This is how I feel like we should cover it and discuss it. And this is my point of view about it. And it's not as uncomfortable as I initially thought it would be, because he really does pay attention to a lot of shit that I do or say, and I just think he doesn't. He's just quiet. He's not a talker.
Yeah, see,
like I'm a talker.
That would work for me. His method wouldn't work for me. That would annoy the fucking shit out of me. And the reason why
it does annoy me.
And the reason why it would annoy me, because it's like, motherfucker, if you've been sitting here watching this shit go down, why the fuck you ain't say shit?
Something. Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that would drive me crazy. But that's just me. For someone who was seeing me, they would have to understand that I don't operate in that realm. Don't sit around and watch the shit and see me, you know, twisting about it, and then you just wait. Oh, was she ready?
She'll get to me, yeah.
No. Like, is everything okay? What's going on? I noticed blah, blah, blah. You good? You want to talk about it? Yeah, as a matter of fact. But I know most men don't want to bring up that shit. They're like, nope, I don't want to get this bitch talk. But they know me. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I'm not gonna make it, you know, make a big thing out of it. I'm just gonna say what I have to say. We can come to an understanding about it, and we're gonna move forward from it. I'm not gonna keep constantly, you know, wrapping it up, putting it in the refrigerator, saying, okay, we're done with it, and then reheating it the next day. That's not how it's done. Not with me. And that's another thing too. It goes with the forgiveness, is that if you forgive, let it go. Don't keep bringing it back up. Women are notorious for this. Men, y'all too, especially if y'all really, really in y'all feelings, y'all keep bringing that shit up forever and ever. Amen. Yeah. Don't let it be a dude you feel insecure about. Every time he come around or every time he is mentioned, we're going to have to hear something about this Negro. So was your boy there? What's up with your dude? What's up with your boy? Was he there? Mm-hmm. Like, what? I don't know. You paying way too much attention to him. I'm just saying.
With this socket wrench you sucking on, I love it.
I ain't sucking on nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone too. That's two.
I-
The next one, I'm going in.
All right, so let's do some fun stuff, y'all. Class
Okay.
has been in session for about for a minute now. Let's do some fun stuff. Question.
Okay. Here we go. Let me get my glasses.
Question.
I'm ready.
Write the notes on this one, right? Some of this we have covered. Some of this is stuff that you do need to ask someone that you are dating. This is before the relationship part. Okay? And if you
Before.
find yourself already in a relationship, we can modify it for you to have this conversation if you don't know, right? The answer to this question already. Here's a question that you could ask somebody that you're dating. If you could create your ideal relationship, what would it look like? And what have you done or are you willing to do to make it happen? Sporty, why you giving me that look over your glasses?
Girl, quit playing.
What?
Because that's a pretty good loaded question.
It's not loaded because there's no right or wrong answer to that question. The reason, and what I want to be clear about, ladies and gentlemen, in asking these questions, again, you are looking for functional compatibility with these. And remember, you are not supposed to use these questions as a guide so that you can pretend to be somebody else in order to be with this person. This is for you to see if you're actually compatible with this person or not. So when you ask them to create their ideal relationship and they break it down for you and they tell you what it looks like, right? And it doesn't look anywhere remotely close, like a motherfucker told me that he wanted to, when he retired, he wanted to be in a RV and go cross country camping. No, mofo, no. We ain't gonna be together. Because that is something I'm not interested in doing now nor ever. I have never liked long distance road trips. I'm not going to magically start liking it. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
That would be fun.
Well, then I'll give you his number. You can call him your damn self. I ain't fucking with him like that. We friends. Also, when they get to the part where it's what have you done or what are you willing to do to make it happen? If they say, well, I haven't really done anything. Are they really trying to be in and have this relationship? You know what I'm saying? Because people who want something, they do things to make it happen.
Okay.
So pay attention. There's no right or wrong. It's just a way for you to gauge if this person is for you. You can ask this person, what's your biggest pet peeve and why? But don't ask when they start giving you the superficial why, right? You're going to tell them, no. You want to know why. Like, for instance, I said one of my pet peeves is people being on time. I mean, or being late, right? Or maybe one of my pet peeves might be, I'll just use the one for being late, right? I don't like for people to be late. Well, the reason why I don't like for people to be late is because, one, I think it's a matter of disrespect in terms of not being where you say you're going to be, and the bigger picture is about integrity, being a person of your word. If if your word isn't worth anything, then neither are you. So if I can't depend on you to do, are there going to be times when things happen and you won't be able to? Absolutely. Will you communicate with me that there has been a change? That's the expectation, right? But if your exception is now your rule, there's always something that you can't ever do what it is that you say you're going to do, we got a problem, right? So I need to be able to express that to the person, because not only did I tell them my pet peeve is people being late, right? Not because it's just it's all about me. You should be rushing your life to get to me. I'm telling them I think it's an issue of integrity and me being able to depend on you. And if I don't feel like I can depend on you, then that's going to be a problem for me going forward.
Okay.
Right?
Makes sense.
Another question we talked about already. You ask this person this to see what they say, but you're also going to pay attention yourself. How do you manage your stress and your anger? How do you handle conflict? Is this the person that's going to flip over the table and turn into start busting out their clothes, turn into the Incredible Hulk, right? And this guy, you know, who's at the restaurant and the food ain't right and he cuss out the waitress. These are things that's going to show you, right? If he says, you know what, if I say to somebody, you know what, I handle stress in a way, the same way I handle my anger. I shut down. I take a minute. I step back to see what the heck is going on. I take that pause. That person needs to know, well, I need to address the shit right now. If you are, I need to do it right now type of motherfucker, you're not the dude for me. Because we're going to have conflict.
Because I need that count. Yeah, absolutely.
I need that count. I need to take that beat. But again, these are all things that you are now making, that are drawing a picture for you in terms of this person. We talked about the,
I said that makes sense.
We talked about the communication style. Does this person, you know, what do you think of, what would you say your communication style is? Do you prefer to be told, shown, or both? Some people like the words. Some people like the action. I like them to be both. Well, you know I love you. How do I know that? I make sure that there's a roof over our head and you got food to eat and you got new red bottoms. That ain't showing me you love me. That don't mean you love me. That tells me you keeping me.
Means right? You know what I like, but why do you love me?
Exactly. So, you know, again, some people were like, you know, I tell you I love you all the time. Well, I need you to show me. Well, how the hell do I show you that? You know, be able to articulate to that person what that means to you. How does someone show you that they love you? You know what I mean? So again, you want to find out what their communication style is, the way they receive information. Do they like for people to, like me, I like for you to have a conversation with me. I don't want to be combative in that kind of a situation where we're trying to come to a resolution.
I'm loving this.
Ask them, when was the last time you cried and why?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it tells you about, it gives you a gauge on their emotional temperature. Right? If, like, for instance, I'll use myself for example. It's been a minute since I cried, right? Like a long, long time ago. But it was a reason that was definitely worth it. Somebody, you know, somebody died or somebody was, you know, deathly sick, right? I can say, well, the reason why I don't cry that often is because oftentimes I don't understand the purpose of crying and shit. I don't. Is that going to solve my problem? No. I need, you know what I mean? I need to go into problem solving mode, and that's a useless waste of time to me.
See, and it's so funny now, and then it's totally the opposite for me, because I will cry. But crying for me, people see it as, oh, she's soft, she mushy, she emotional up. If I'm crying, it's because I can't fuck you up.
But you are mushy. No, but you are mushy.
No, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not emotional, but if I'm crying, it really is something that automatically happens because I'm pissed. If I'm crying, I'm really pissed off. And I can't fuck you up. And if I'm crying, I see blood and I want to hurt you.
I don't cry when I don't cry like that. Yeah. I don't. No, it has to be. I have to be on the verge. Yeah, there's a problem. But again, that might on some level say to somebody, okay, well, she's emotionally unavailable. She's not in touch with her feelings. I am in touch with my feelings. I just choose to express my feelings in a different way. But again, that leaves the door open for further conversation. They're like, well, why is that? Right now we can have a conversation and they can learn more about me. Another question you can ask them, when do you feel the most vulnerable? Or when have you felt your most vulnerable? And why? Right?
All right, I got that. You see I got my glass on, I'm typing, right?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Another one is, and this tells a lot. How are you when you sick? Do you require a lot of attention, or do you just want to be left the hell alone? Right? Because you have some people, like me, I require a lot of attention when I'm sick. I'm a big ass baby, right? But if I'm dating somebody or I'm with somebody who's standoffish, one, it's going to be hard for me not to be like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Because that's how I would, you know what I mean? That's how I want them to. But if they're standoffish with me and leaving me the hell alone, I'm like, you weren't around nowhere and I was sick and that I could have died in my sleep and you was nowhere. Because that's how I get when I'm sick. I'm a big
Lord.
No, that's how I get when I'm sick. I'm a big ass baby. So,
Yeah.
So again, me having that conversation or asking that person can then really keep down some drama a little bit later on. Because if I were sick or they were to get sick and I wasn't able to respond to them in the way that worked for them or vice versa, then, you know what I mean?
I get it. Totally.
All right. Okay.
Cool.
Are you affectionate and how do you express it? Right? Do you know, how do you express that being affectionate? You want to know those things. But again, everything that you're asking, you're also paying attention to on your own. Remember, words and actions should be consistent. Very important question. How important is sex and how often ideally would you have it? I had a young man inbox me. It goes down in my DM, y'all. He inboxed me wanting to know about an issue he was having with his girl. They only get a chance to really spend time with each other on the weekends, right? And he said, you know, they weren't having sex as often as he would like. And he said, I said, well, okay, ideally, well, you know, you only got the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then she leaves Sunday night. What, you know, Friday evening, Saturday, you know what I mean? What do you want from her? He was like, well, I mean, I want to at least, you know, 5 or 6 times. I said, okay.
Wow.
That's what you want. That's your ideal. I said, most people don't have 5 or 6 times in a 7-day period. Right? But you want to have sex 5 or 6 times in a 2.5-day period. Did you express that to her before y'all got together? Or are you changing the game up now?
Right.
Because now that y'all time is a little bit more condensed that since you're in a relationship as opposed to when it was when you were dating, you're trying to get it all in. Nah, I had sex every day if I could. Does she know that? Because again, that sexual incompatibility is going to cause a problem.
Yes,
if
it
you
will.
ain't the kind of person that want to have sex every single day or at least every other day, and this mofo say that, y'all gonna have a problem.
You ain't gonna make it with Sporty.
Y'all gonna have a problem.
Yes, Lord.
You need to find out if they have children, if they want to have more children, if you know what I mean, those kind of things. If he says, I'm done, and you want more, that ain't the guy for you. Or she says, I'm done, and you want more, she ain't the one for you.
Lord help her.
Pay very close attention and believe them when they tell you that.
Get a dog.
If y'all both want children, you need to be asking questions about how they were raised, what parenting style was used for raising them, and what parenting style they plan to have with those children. If they currently have children, what are they, how do they discipline, reprimand, whatever. Those are things that you would need to be paying attention to. Here's one of my favorite questions to ask.
Uh-oh.
If I were to ask your ex, why would he or she say that your relationship didn't work? Because oftentimes you ask, well, what happened in your last relationship? And they'll give you their version. Right? It's like if I ask them, what would they say? Now that forces them to give you a different answer. And somewhere in between what they're telling you, what they already told you was their story, and what they're telling you, what their ex would say, is the truth.
Interesting.
So if I say because I'm an asshole, that wouldn't be the total truth?
No, that's completely the truth.
That's the truth.
Oh, okay.
Like, why did you say y'all broke up? Because he was a bitch. And why did he say y'all broke up? Because I was an asshole. In the middle, he's a bitch, which brought out the asshole, or your asshole brought out his bitch. You know what I mean? It's the truth. My equation works, I'm telling you.
That's funny as hell.
It's true. I don't make these things up, ladies and gentlemen. I am a cultural anthropologist, a sexual anthropologist. I pay attention to these things. Another thing, you always want to find out what that person's spiritual / religious beliefs are. I mean, because if you guys are far apart on that, you cannot come together for an extended period of time. Same thing with political positions. You know, and people say you shouldn't talk about, sex, religion, and politics. Those are the things that you absolutely should talk about. Because if people say you get too emotional, that's exactly why you need to talk about them. Ask them what their biggest regret was. And motherfuckers say they don't have no regrets. What you say, Chan?
I said I got a question.
I ain't got no answers for you.
On the sex, no, not on the sex. Sorry, where my mind is at. On the
whore.
On the religion, what you say, politics, and what else?
Spiritual.
Oh, okay. So you don't think having that conversation might diminish some stuff when you had that conversation? Because your horse, and this is totally off subject, we don't mesh on no level on that.
What, sex, politics?
Well, no, not on the first one. On the other two.
Spiritual views?
Politics and religion?
Yes. Religious or politics.
When she say my horse, she's talking about my horse for her, the one I picked for her. But y'all also don't match on another on a level that's important for compatibility.
Right. Oh. Well, I mean, that part is true, but because your view on politics and spirituality don't have shit to do with me. So I can't hold you accountable for that. I just know not to talk to you about it.
But they might hold you to that standard.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's important to have that conversation, because you might not give a shit, but they do, and then they trying to impress on you their shit, and you like, look, motherfucker, I ain't going to I'm not finna do this, I'm not finna wear that, no, fuck you and your damn God, or whatever you say, and then they really mad at you.
So then, let me ask Chan a question then. This is a good question. So, if you said it has nothing to do with you and you're with this person, so however long down the line, years, months, whatever later, and you're still with them and it comes up, how do you handle their constant, let's say I go to church every single Sunday, but they never come and go to church with me. You just live with that the rest of your life if you're going to be with that person?
Yeah. It's going to be something else on Sunday while they at church.
Yeah, if you go to church or the mosque or whatever day you just do the Sabbath, that's on you. That ain't got nothing to do with me. You want to sit in your room and read Bible scripture? That's on you. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning up, I'm taking care of the kids. I have nothing else. I don't have anything to do with that. When it comes time to vote, you go in your booth, I go in mine. I ain't got nothing to do with that. So I'm not gonna hold that I'm not gonna hold that against you. I just know we can't have these conversations.
Well, here's the thing. You could, because you have to ask that thing, because he might want you to be in the room with him reading the scripture instead of cooking, cleaning, taking, you know what I mean? Oh. He might want you, that's why I'm saying it's important to ask that question, because if they start prattling off, yeah, and I do this and then you like, and then you ask a follow-up question in terms of, okay, so what if you had a person, if you were dating someone who didn't share that same fervor? Oh, well, I could. Then that lets you know right there that's not the person for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Here to share to share an experience where the other person is like totally off of that experience rather than have a different experience. Like, case in point, if one was Muslim and the other one was Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
That would be two totally separate. That would be a fight. You know what I'm saying, in the household. But if one is Muslim and the other one don't necessarily have a denomination, it seems like that would be easier to handle.
It could. Here's my point, though, Chan. The person who doesn't have a denomination and who is not interested, if they're being pressured by the person who does, that's going to cause problems in their relationship.
True.
I didn't take that away from you. I understood that perfectly. I was just giving an example.
And again, right. And again, if you guys are very far apart and you're intolerant of other people's, then yes, that can cause a problem. But if you have somebody who is, who has their belief system and they're like, look, I respect yours, you respect mine, we're all good, we'll figure out a way to work this out on such and such and such and such.
Right.
We can respect each other's differences on that, then yeah. But typically most people aren't, which is why you need to have that conversation before you go calling yourself, oh, I'm so in love, we want to get married. Then you can't figure out whether you're going to raise your children Jewish or Muslim or what kind of ceremonies you're going to have and this, that, because they want to have it in the temple and you want to have it in the mosque, and then you got to convert in order for them to, and you like, fuck all that, and then now you know what I mean? So, again, you have to have that conversation. I'm not saying you got to go into a whole bunch of detail asking them doctrine and shit, but you do need to understand where they're coming from. Another question that and I need to start getting onto the letter is, while dating or in a relationship, how often do you need to be in contact with the other person? That is important, ladies and gentlemen. If they say, I need to talk to you at least twice a day, or I need to talk to you at least once a day, and you like, shit, how about twice a week? Is that okay? And they like, no. That's going to be a problem. Right?
We got
like,
issue.
Right. You're like, well, I can only see you once a week. Short of us, and we not in a long distance. Y'all live in the same damn city. You're like, I can only see you once a week. And we can talk every other day. Some people gonna have a problem with that.
For sure.
Huh?
I would say for sure. That's some extracurricular bullshit right
West
there.
in our chat room said, because they've been in there. I don't know if they actually are taking notes because they're actually quiet as hell. Normally, this is the most opinionated group.
They ain't moving.
And they're in there like this, right? He just said there's gonna be a lot fewer second dates. Let me do this other one. Yeah, so you want to find out how often they need to, be in contact. You want to ask if they got a criminal history, and if so, what for?
What you done did now?
Right. If they say some shit about, I shot at somebody because I told them to get out of my house, or, I let off a couple because I told them to get my house off my property and they didn't get off. And I called a child. Oh, okay, all right, that's cool. Right? But if they say some shit like, assault with a deadly weapon in the commission of a robbery, like, I'm sorry.
You're like, that's gonna be a problem.
And what were you robbing? Oh, that mosque you said you right? That kind of shit, right?
Before you go on, where you had that question about how often do we need to communicate, I think you should also add, and how we communicate. Is it going to be a phone call, a text message, FaceTime, how we communicate? Because people will text and that'd be okay with them.
Right.
Versus a human phone call or, a face-to-face conversation. So I think how they communicate is a good question to ask as well.
Okay.
That's just my thought.
That's important to some people. Whether it's FaceTime or something like that. Or if it's text messaging. I gotta at least hear your voice. At least once a week. And I don't mean the once a week that I see you. Well, yeah. Ask them, when was their last STD panel? What were the results, and if they mind sharing them? If they don't know and they ain't had one and they ain't trying to share, y'all got a problem.
Do you have your get out and
That's right.
card?
Oh, they said they're taking notes in chat. They said they're taking notes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, some people ask this one, well, are you straight? Right? And if we didn't learn anything from that transgender show,
whoo,
you need to be a little bit more specific when asking that question. Have you engaged in any activity that would or could be viewed as not consistent with you saying that you're single? I mean, you saying that you're straight, right? You need to dig deep and get some questions, right? You need to find out, especially going forward. And I'm kind of rushing through these because we run out of time and we got to do this letter, and we can always do a part 2 or whatever. You need to find out if somebody, if you're compatible. What's their money style, their spending style? Are they frugal / cheap? Are they extravagant? Are they just somewhere in the middle? If I need it, I'll get it. If not, whatever. You need to know that shit. Because if you plan on being in a relationship with a motherfucker and they willing to take your light bill to go buy a new pair of shoes, and you sitting up in the dark, but they got on some fancy new shoes that you can't see because ain't no lights,
wrong spirit.
Huh?
I said wrong spirit.
I'm just saying, it happens, right? And then you also want to ask, what is cheating to you? What is your definition of cheating? You need to find that out. You need to find that out, because y'all may be on different pages in terms of that. Wes, why you saying damn? Are you asking about the homosexuality question, or is he talking about the money question?
Baby, shit, both of them are.
Damn, in the chat. I'm just saying, these are just a few questions. And I'm not saying you sitting down drilling this person, interrogating them, but you just kind of put them in there, find out, you know what I mean? Put your own little spin on how to get those questions answered, so that you can find out about your compatibility with this person. Again, it's better to know up front than it is to get involved emotionally and then like, oh my God.
What did I get myself into?
What did I get myself into? Right? But it's important that you always keep in mind what's important to you. Keep in mind what your deal breakers are in terms of having these conversations with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, ask yourself, when we talk about compatibility, ask yourself, do you and this other person share basic core values? Ask yourself, how other regarding are you in terms of them? Are they ego-centered and you not? Are they paying attention to your needs and wants, or is it all about them? Right? Ask yourself, do they compliment you intellectually? Do they stimulate you intellectually? Or do you find yourself not being able to talk about but only one thing with them?
Right.
Sex, or music or something like that. Are you able to carry on a conversation with them on a myriad of things, right?
Makes sense to me.
Do you share the same interests, or some of the same interests, or the main interests, right? Are your temperaments compatible? 2s don't belong with 10s. Especially if 2 don't want to come up to 6 and 10 don't want to come down to 6.
You said 2 don't belong with 10s.
They don't. And I don't mean in terms of a person being a 2.
No.
But I mean temperament. Right. I couldn't be with a 10 because I've been with a 10 before and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I am a 10.
All right. And ask yourself, do you guys relate to each other authentically? You not sending your representative and you recognize that this person is being authentic with you.
Right.
And are you attracted to one another? And I don't just mean sexually, but I mean sexually and just kind of psychologically. Like when I was talking about those things in terms of just the way they look at you, or their smile, or the way they move their hand when they do something like that. It's just so, you know what I mean? What is it about them?
It's adorable.
Right? So those 7 questions I had you ask yourself about basic values, other regards, intellectually, shared interests, temperaments, all that stuff, right? If you were to do a key to rank so you can find out how compatible you are with this person, if you would rank it, let's say, in terms of 0 being incompatible, 1 would be weak, 2 would be average, 3 would be strong, and 4 would be very strong. And then, excuse me, it's actually 6 questions, I'm sorry. And then you would add that up, right? And then you would do an average. So you would divide that by 6, right? So if you, let's say, for instance, we got 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 2, 3, right? And then you divide that by 6. That would tell you what your average is, right?
Let's see.
What?
I'm doing it. I'm trying to see.
Oh.
So I take my number.
Uh-huh.
My number is 3. 6 times 3 is 18.
Well, you 6 times 3 is 18. What is that?
You said the number. Go through your scale again.
Okay, let's say, for example, 0 is incompatible, 1 is weak, 2 is average, 3 is strong, and 4 is very strong. So say, for instance, for these 6, it was 2, 4, 3, a 1, a 4, and a 3. That would be 17. And then I divide 17 by 6.
Okay.
That will give us a 2.83. So if we got a 2.83, that's a little over average, closer to strong. That will put us in a high average area. So it's more than likely that we're compatible.
All right, so my number, that's what I meant by 6 times 3 is 18.
Okay.
So 6 times 3 is 18. And you said 18 divided by what?
6.
Okay. It's a 3.
So it's strong.
Okay.
Will the attraction show on date 1, or does that take time? Attraction can show at any time, but it's what kind of attraction. Again, some people you just aren't automatically sexually attracted to. I know for women this happens a lot. We may not automatically off the rip, be sexually attracted to you, but we might find something about you that we find attractive. Right? We might think you're funny. You know, we might think you're just a really nice guy. You're a gentleman. We might, we find something about you. Okay? So I'll give you guys the compatibility chart on how to score it and the questions that you need to ask in terms of those things in order to find out your compatibility with the other person. But before I can do any of that, it is time for our ASPDA letter.
Woo!
All right, so I'm going to do this real quick because this one, yeah. All right, because we got to wrap this thing up in a nice little bow. So it's time for our disclaimer.
At some point, you will be offended by something said on our show, but Playing Devil's Advocate is meant to be a forum for open, honest, and more importantly, judgment-free dialogue. The opinions expressed here may not necessarily be those of our hosts or the show in general, but we're willing to have the uncomfortable conversations so that we can heal and find solutions for our listeners and quite possibly ourselves. Enjoy the rest of the show.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Today's AskPDA letter is being brought to you by our producer's drink of the week. If you have not had an opportunity to check out Smoky Apple, now is your time. You can go to facebook.com/playingdevilsadvocate and check out our drink. Let Cousin Chan know what you think about it. Send her pictures, videos, whatever. If you want to find out where she got that smoke moonshine, I suggest you go ahead. Also, if you would like to submit a letter for our Ask PDA segment, make sure that you send your email to pda.radio@gmail.com, and in the subject put Ask PDA. And here's the letter. Dear PDA, I've met a great man that I'm compatible with in every way. We have similar we have similar tastes in just about everything from decorating and landscaping to entertainment. My problem is his past. From what he says, he's never had a monogamous relationship, even during his marriage. After the divorce, he pursued anything that was female. When we are at a club or a concert or just out for dinner, I constantly encounter women that he's been with. He tells me he's happy for the first time in his life and he would never cheat on me. I have never been the jealous type, but I'm really not now. I just don't want to be the woman that everybody is laughing at because they know his history. PDA fam, what should I do? Sign, everyone has a past. I'll let you go first, Sporty.
Roses are red and violets are blue. What he has done to others, he's probably going to do to you. I'm done.
Okay. All right. Everybody has a past. You're absolutely right. Everyone does have a past. And I would like to know how small of a damn town that you live in, and everywhere y'all go somewhere together, you done ran the whole damn town. I just need to know that, right? Because if it's somewhere around, then I done probably smashed them too. No, just kidding.
Ha! Oh my God.
No, but here's my thing. If you are saying everyone has a past, why would you? And you say that y'all compatible in every way. The only way that I can see that y'all not compatible is in the monogamy department. Clearly, that is something that bothers you. If he says that he would never cheat on you, let me tell you something. He's lying. He can never say for certain, I will never cheat on you.
Right.
Ever heard that phrase, never say never?
Yep.
Especially since he's done it before. He has a track record of not doing it. For him to be adamant to say, I'll never do it again, no. That's like a crack addict saying, I'll never smoke crack again.
And he was married, right?
Yeah, he was married.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, they're giving you applause for your thing in the chat. But what I'm saying to you is you need to either, one, accept that he has a past and he's banged everything in your town and move on, right? Or you can just pass him on to somebody else. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to be with this man, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that he can be faithful to me. But I'm not going to tell you to leave your dude. I'm not going to tell you to be worried about other folks laughing at you because they know his history.
Right.
Because everybody got a history.
I am going to say make sure he got his get out and fuck free card.
You better do that. So, you said he pursued anything female. This sounds like some other, and here's the coach in me. That sounds like something else going on. This don't have nothing to do with sex. Let's just be real about it. If he's never been able to be monogamous, even in his marriage, and when he got divorced, he felt like it was open season to go to pursue anything female, so much so that every time y'all go somewhere, y'all run into one of his pieces.
Something wrong.
There's something else going on. Find out what that is. Alrighty. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, in the chat room, they're saying, ouch, being called a gentleman is the kiss of death. They gave you the applause for your poem. Being called a gentleman is not the kiss of death, not for a woman. That is not the kiss of death.
Right.
Now, somebody's saying, oh, he's sweet. That might be the kiss of death. That might find you in the friend zone.
Friend zone. I was going to say, he's my friend. He's a sweetheart.
If you say, oh, he's so sweet, that's a friend zonable comment. But if he's a gentleman, that doesn't immediately qualify you for the friend zone. Not for a real woman. I want somebody who's going to open doors for me. I want someone who's going to, because clearly whenever I get off a bar stool, a chair or something, I need help getting off of it. I don't have a problem with him helping me down. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff I like.
I'm gonna let that one go too, Kiki. You sixth grader, you.
I'm just saying, I prefer to have that. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here today, we were talking about some of the building blocks and everything, and we talked about the main things, in terms of, those building blocks, and that would be, in no particular order. Definitely truth, respect, communication, trust, accountability, compatibility, forgiveness, integrity, patience, and acceptance. Those are the things that you build on. And the way that you build on those things is, one, find out about the compatibility factor. Because in determining that compatibility factor will determine if it's even worth you barreling ahead into the next thing, which would be a relationship.
Right.
So ask those uncomfortable questions. Have those uncomfortable conversations, because those are the ones that will tell you everything that you need to know. All the information that you get in that moment, will you be able to use in that moment? Absolutely not. But it will definitely give you a roadmap on how you should or should not proceed. Now, to the lady, just to use the lady who wrote that letter in. Now, before she got all attached and everything, and the first couple times they went out and everybody knew, and he had to explain to you, oh, that was somebody I used to fuck around with.
Mm-hmm.
That was somebody I used to fuck around with, and that was somebody I used to fuck around with. I would like to know, in the conversations that you were having while you were dating, when did you find out about never been in a monogamous relationship in all my life?
Right.
I want to know when you got that signal. That would be interesting to know. I'm just saying. Sporty. They say, yes, I must specify. You hurt because I gave you the finger?
Yeah. Not really, but
Okay, which other finger would you like for me to give you? Anyway, you got any final words, Sporty, before we get the hell out of here?
Roses are red and violets are blue. If you want a happy relationship, building blocks are for you.
I agree with Sporty. I hate it, but I do. No, you absolutely have to. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it is not a game. I'm telling you, the first thing you do, compatibility. Do a compatibility check. If you're thinking about this person as a potential. Now, if there's something smash and grab, who gives a fuck about compatibility? But if you're looking for something substantial, do the compatibility check. Once you do the compatibility check, either to proceed into the friend zone, usher them over here into the friend zone, run like somebody set you on fire, or, proceed, in this direction over here to possibly something else. But you want to make sure that you give yourself as much information as possible. You always consider you and how you will be able to navigate in that scenario. Am I saying being selfish and self-centered? No.
No.
But before you can be anything to anyone else, you have to be the best you can be.
Agreed.
And so, I don't know what we're talking about next week. I know June is coming up. It's going to be our 7-year anniversary. It's also Black Music Month, and y'all, I booked some old school hip hop people that you gonna be like, what? Yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yes, I did that.
Me like you.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, always remember we are here each and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. to you guys on the East Coast. We are uncensored, unscripted, unapologetic. If there's anything else they need to know about us, Sporty, what do they need to do?
Google us, bitches.
That is right. Google us, bitches. It's almost 12 o'clock. Let me smoke on it.
Oh, I'll sip on it. No, ain't nothing like a 40 ounce.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out the door. I can't do no more. Toodaloo.
Who says?
It's 12 o'clock.